Hello and welcome to another Blender tutorial. Today we're going to be doing two things. One, we're going to be looking at general setup, and then we're going to be using some of the things we learnt when we were setting up our interface and stuff to how this helps us model and how our setup helps us do things which would be harder if we weren't properly set up. Okay, so first of all, there's some add-ons that are good to have. And the way we go about changing add-ons in Blender is just going up to File and User Preferences. And then we get greeted by these panels, and we've got Interface, Editing, Input, Add-ons, Themes, File, and System. But today I'm going to concentrate on add-ons. Some of the add-ons that we want and that we should really always have when we're using Blender, these are the ones that I consider absolute musts to have enabled, are all the add curves, all the add meshes, and generally I would say only enable the input and output options that you need. I mean, Blender comes with quite a lot enabled as defaults. Useful stuff here. Material, nothing in that tab yet. And mesh, we need loop tools enabled, and also relax is a good one to have there. B surfaces you can take or leave, and those are generally the ones that I use a lot. Loop tools especially, and we're going to see how loop tools really helps us enhance our modeling abilities in a second. And the second thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to click and hold in the top right hand corner of this window here and just drag upwards to merge those two windows, and just change that back to 3D view, and press T to get back our object tools, just because we're not going to be working with animation today, and it just gives us a slightly bigger workspace to be working with. Blender, I should add here, has a really good tiling window manager with it, and you can just pull and rip off different windows and click and hold, and click, hold, and click for 2 seconds, hold, and drag in the direction to merge them back together. Just get rid of all these. Okay, so if we just go into front view here and go into orthographic view, we have our cube here, which we will be turning into an anvil, and we'll be looking at doing some setup. As always, I'm just going to tick over to cycles because it's the rendering engine I prefer. If you prefer to follow along in Blender Render, there's nothing really engine specific that we're going to be doing today. Everything's going to be quite basic. And then we're just going to go down here to view, and I'm just going to go toggle quad view. Now this is a really useful view because it gives us where the camera is when we're going to be setting up this little scene, and it allows us to look at things from the top, the front, and the right angles in orthographic view all at once. And it's fairly commonplace in a 3D environment and fairly useful too. useful environment to be editing in. So in top view here, I'm just going to go and move our camera over, G to grab. And before I do this, I always seem to forget the other add-on that I should have already put on when I was looking at add-ons is screencast keys. And then if I just press N and just start a screencast of the keys here. And in this mode, for some reason, it kind of bugs us out with them. But yeah, I'm just going to go G to grab that just roughly there, R to rotate, and then over on our right view, I'm just going to grab this and rotate it. Just so we've got a general front-on camera perspective. But I don't really want my perspective mode to be looking from the camera as I'm modeling, so I'm just going to go and put it roughly where it was. Then I'm just going to drop into this scene a plane, and I'm going to grab it down and just move it so it's roughly under our cube here, and I'm going to scale it out some. And I'm just going to toggle back to the camera just to see that I am indeed doing it right. Tab into edit mode. And I'm going to just select the back two verts here. And I'm just going to go control and left click. Actually control and left click. And I'm just going to extrude kind of a curved backdrop for our cube to sit on, and just bring the backdrop forward a little bit, press 0 to have a look at our camera, and I'm just going to scale that out a little bit. That looks good, and I'm going to add on a subsurf modifier, set it smooth, tab in, and then I'm just going to go Alt Shift left click rather, to select the edge loops there, and I'm just going to go into edge selection mode and press C on my keyboard to do a brush selection, and then I'm just going to middle mouse button to select everything but the perimeter edges there. Then I'm just going to go Shift E and drag out to mark those sharp, which gives us a fairly smooth backdrop. So if we go there and if we there, and I just want to not view this, Control-Alt-Q. Control-Alt-Q again is just to toggle that quad view, which I'm going to be using quite a lot today. And that's just so that I can quickly take over into rendered view without everything being rendered. So I'm just going to press Z, and I'm going to go back into our quad view, and I'm just going to grab this and rotate it round just to get a good kind of trying to get a good general setup. I'm going to have to fix this later anyway, so I'm not going to carry on so much. Okay, so now we're going to go into making our actual anvil. And we are going to be using our default cube for this. And we're going to be doing this mostly in wireframe view. if I just tab in here, and I'm just gonna go into my vert mode, and I'm just gonna bring it out, bring these edges out along the x-axis a little bit. As well, in Blender, if you're ever unsure of what axis you're working on, you always have this little blue, yellow, red XYZ thing down in the center that shows you where the axes are actually aligned, so that's useful. Just round there, and it's on all of these at the moment. Unfortunately, screencast keys is kind of covering it up a little bit, but you shouldn't have that problem. So, okay, we've got this here, and now we need to make a kind of ledge for our anvil. So I'm just going to take this top face and press I to inset. And then I'm going to select the center face and E to extrude. Now this might not look so good right now, but it will start to make sense. In a second. So we have this, and I'm just going to go and add a ring cut around the edge here and just pull these up a little bit, just to allow for some slight curvature when we actually do go ahead and finish this off. And now I'm going to add another ring cut on the side here, and I'm going to add 2 ring cuts along the top and scale them out along the y-axis. Then I'm going to go into face selection mode and just pull this face here out a little bit, so that just to kind of make the end of the anvil. Then extrude it, and then do a scale shift X to scale it on everything apart from the x-axis, and then extrude it again. And that whole area kind of isn't proportionate at the moment, so I'm just going to go back into wireframe mode and vertex view, and I'm just going to select those vertices, B for border select, and I'm just going to scale them all down. Just to correct the scaling, and then move them up slightly. And at this point in the tutorial, you're probably thinking, what? This doesn't look at all like an anvil. Trust me, it will. I'm just going to take these, extrude them, scale them down a little bit, just to kind of make a... Okay, now, most anvils kind of have some feet on the bottom. So we're just going to press Z again, and we're going to add some loop cuts around the top and the side. I'm just going to try and add these up as evenly as possible there. And I'm going to add some on the side. Always looking at detail where detail's needed. And I'm just going to go to the bottom here, roughly see where there are some kind of feety things that I can use. eaty things. And then just shift click them all to select them, and then just extrude them out slightly. So that's kind of made our feet. Okay, so I'm going to add on to this a subdivision surface, and I don't want this to be a curved subdivision. I want it just to be a simple straight one. So if we go into well, we can't view what it's doing right now, but what it's doing is it's just taking these and cutting them up. It's just simply subdividing them once. Okay, so I'm going to tab back out into object mode, and I'm going to add a lattice. And this is going to form the basis of our deformations to actually get the main shape of the anvil going. So I'm just going to scale this so it's roughly fitting around the body of the anvil. Just so it draws a fairly even kind of perimeter around this. So I'm going to go over into our lattice properties, and I'm going to add some divisions to this lattice. I think that should be enough. And I'm just going to select the anvil, then select the lattice and do Control P, lattice deform. And I'm going to set the entire model smooth, and I'm going to add an edge split. So I'm just going to click on the lattice here, tab into edit mode, and then back so I can just get a sense of perspective and what it's going to be doing on all axes. I'm just going to go into wireframe mode, and I'm going to border select in the lattice the middle control points here, and then scale them in on everything but the Z axes. And if I just go back out into, or press Z to go back into solid view, we can kind of see what this is doing to our mesh. Okay, but we don't want our anvil to be just like that. We want it to have some difference. So I'm just going to select, and I'm just going to press, no, I'm going to do this in flat mode. I'm going to press C, no, I'm going to do B for a border select, and I'm just going to select the middle faces here, and then again I'm just going to press I to make an inset. Then I'm going to hold down Control on the keyboard to inset it inwards. And if we I'm going to undo that, I did that wrong. I'm going to do this in wireframe mode, and again I to inset it by maybe that much, and then Control to bring it in, and that just gives us just some dynamic to what we're making here. And I'm just going to go ahead and roughly repeat that process in different areas of the model. again with just tabbing it back out to check. I'm not too worried about the back of it right now, because we're not going to be working with that just yet, or really at all. And I'm just going to go back into the lattice here, and just line that up. And I'm going to press Z again to go into wireframe mode, A to deselect everything. And I'm just going to play around with this back thing here, and just shunt the elements of this lattice here until I think it's doing what I want it to do. Again, sometimes you need to be I think really quite rough with a lattice sometimes. I'm just going to go in onto these front feet, and I'm just going to add some I'm going to add 2 ring cuts to each of them, just by Control R, then scroll up on the keyboard. And then I'm going to go into face mode, and I'm going to Alt click around these faces here, then Shift Alt click to try and just get. Sometimes in Blender selections don't always work as you would like them to do. Then I'm just going to press 1 on the keyboard, 5, because I should have done that in front view over here really, but I'm lazy. And then I'm just going to go down here, and I'm going to tick pivot point, individual origin, and then I'm going to press E to make an extrusion, then scale, Shift Z. Wait, no, I'm just going to scale down. No, I'm not. Why is this not? Wait, no, we're just going to leave those there for later. As well, it's always good to be able to just tell yourself if you're doing something that you don't think is quite right. I'm not getting that right now. I'm going to go back to it later. This is good. Again, I to inset. Control. Wait, no, I'm going to I to inset. Then A. C. Select again, then I to inset. Well, that's a little bit much. And again, I'm just making edits here, seeing what the lattice is doing to the finished article. Back into the edit mode for the lattice here, and then I'm just going to select this row of control points and then scale them. I'm going to scale those out on. Why does it not want me to scale these? Let me switch to scale handles here. And no, they don't want to scale. I don't know why. But that's not too bad. I like it. I just want some grab these two, bring them up to get a bit of curve there. Okay, I'm just gonna go Control-Alt-Q, and I'm just gonna perspective view, and I'm just gonna go and give this a quick look in rendered mode in cycles, just to see if I'm liking what it's doing. And I am. I'm thinking that this is going to look like an anvil when we're done. Okay, so I'm just going to go now, and I'm going to move the lattice up. No, I'm not. I'm going to move the lattice back down in the stack, and I'm going to apply that simple subdivision and apply the lattice and tab in. Now it gives us this much higher resolution mesh to play with. So if I tab out and now get rid of this, now I'm just going to go back into quad view because I want to be looking at this in all sides when I'm making this edit, because this is kind of a tricky edit to make. So I'm going to press C on the keyboard to brush select. I'm going to grab some of these faces in the center here. Now I'm going to get rid of them by X faces, and I'm going to go into edge selection mode, and I'm just going to alt right click to select that edge loop. Now what I'm going to try here is a lot of anvils have this kind of back shape there, and then if I just add a grease pencil layer to show you what I mean, they have kind of a it doesn't want to let my grease pencil draw either. Okay, that's because I'm in this mode. They have kind of a thing that comes out on the front that's kind of has a kind of cone shape. Go ahead and get rid of that grease pencil now. So I need to turn this opening here from a square to a circle. Normally this is kind of an irritating task, but with loop tools it's very easy. We just go here and click circle, and we have a circle. So we're going to go back into quad view. This is what we need to see on everything, on every angle to edit, to do this particular edit, or at least I would like to. And I'm just going to rotate it. Origin's messed up. I want to change that back to medium point. And I'm going to just rotate that and scale it down a little bit. And I'm just going to control click to make an extrusion, and then control click to make another extrusion, and then just scale it in. Now hopefully if I did that right, should look okay. Just going to add another loop cut there, and add another cut. And I'm just going to add some detail in here. Again, always only adding detail where detail is needed. Sorry, I'm being very uninteresting and not talking much at this stage. But I'm just trying to line this up so this has a good kind of flow here. And then I'm just going to select this ring of... it's not selecting them easily. Go around and trying to get that initial circle that doesn't want to select so easily. And I just want to rotate it just so it's kind of flush there. And it works aesthetically. And I just want to go and flatten off the top of this a little bit. Not so much. We select all of these and then scale them along the Z-axis to 0. No. Bit more. Scale it on Z0. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and add a subsurf onto this. And I want the subsurf to be above the edge split. I'm just trying to get it kind of flat along the top here. Okay, I think that's a nice shape there. Yeah, so I'm just going to give this another quick render and see what it looks like, see if I like it. And I'm just going to go into that world tab and tick on ambient occlusion. And I don't see why that is so dark. So I'm just going to... Okay, what's happening there? I know what's happened. It's fine. Just select that loop and make a face. I know where that happened before. This is another thing that you should always watch out for. I made a ring selection here, or I made a brush selection here rather, and I had already had what were the faces inside there selected, and that was a big no-no. And I shouldn't have done that, because I should have deselected before I decided to delete. I was silly. Bring the ambient occlusion down. Okay, so we've got our anvil shape, and maybe we want kind of a hammer sitting on our anvil. And to make the hammer, I'm just going to go back into Well, I'm just going to move over to a different layer to make it actually, and go back into quad view. And I'm just going to go Shift Add Mesh, Pipe Joints, T-joint. And I'm going to use a T-joint to make my hammer. And this is why I said always to have those primitives there, because oftentimes when you're looking at making something, there will already be a primitive there that has the main kind of flows and stuff that you want. So it's sometimes not productive to always keep making the same things over and over when you can just add a primitive that has, for example, all this nice mesh work in here to join a cylinder to a cylinder. You don't need to do that if you don't need to do that. I'm just going to select the top, make fill, select these bottom verts, fill, and I'm just going to make a fill there, just so if we go into solid view, we can see that these are where they should be. And then I'm just going to add a loop cut in here, and then scale it on the Z0, and then I'm just going to scale it down a bit. That looks okay to me. And then I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to scale that down. I'm going to make this kind of cartoon-mality by just extruding it on everything but the Z, making another maybe make this a bit more complex on this side by having kind of metal workers sometimes have a hammer with a rounded end as well. That's for bashing and kind of smoothing things out. Because sometimes they need the force to be distributed over a spherical area while they're working. So there we go. So we've got kind of a hammerhead thing there. And we're going to tab back in, Z for wireframe, border select, and bring that out. Then I'm just going to add a couple of ring cuts and move them down to where I want the handle area to be, and then extrude. And just scale on everything but the x-axis there to make kind of a handly thing. And then I'm just going to set this smooth and add an edge split. Then again, I'm just going to add modifier subsurf, move it up in the chain a bit, and then I'm just going to select this top and mark sharp. Sorry, not mark sharp, edge crease, and I'm going to add an edge crease there, and I'm going to add an edge crease there, and I'm going to add an edge crease down here, and I'm just going to make apply modifier cage during edit mode, just so that I can see things more as they are. And I'm going to add a ring cut in the middle and scale it out to give the handle some curvature. And I'm just going to just scale those out a little bit and bring them up a bit, just to kind of... No, that's horrible. Forget I said that. Just kind of a... I'm trying to get some interesting shapes here. And I'm just going to go move that to 1. And I'm going to go and rotate it by 90 degrees. Grab it, scale it down. And just move it so it's kind of sitting on top there. Move it down. And I'm going to rotate it on the... There we go. And now we're going to be working with just giving this scene this very simple scene some color and some excitement with some nodes. Well, actually no, I'm gonna, for once, and this isn't normal, but I'm gonna work with Blender Render for a bit. I'm just gonna go camera, and let's go to Blender Render, and I'm just gonna go and render image. It's been a long time since I did anything, months at least. So I'm just gonna take this and give this a straight black backdrop. So we're kind of rendering the anvil and nothing but the anvil. And I can see that there's some specularity there. I'm gonna drop that out completely. And I'm just gonna go Shift F to fly the camera. And I'm gonna add some mirror to the material here. And yeah. And I'm going to go into texture view, and I'm just going to add one of my favorites, which is new, and I'm going to just add, oh, a cloud would be good actually. And I'm just going to go to the cloud, and I'm going to have this cloud affect a displacement variable. So if we go view render image now, we can see it's starting to take a little while to render now. But we can see we've just added kind of a bump map there, and I don't want that to be nearly as much. And I'm just gonna draw up the size of these clouds quite a bit. I think I'm gonna move them up to 4. And I'm gonna have the displacement effect to 0.1. And I'm just going to render that again and see what it does for us. Okay, we can see that's kind of having an effect. But I'm actually maybe going to move that up even now and render it again. This is one of the things I hate about Blender render, is you don't get a real-time view of what you're making. It can be kind of irritating at times. I'm just going to have this maybe affect normal as well. Maybe move this size down to 3. Okay, I'm going to go back over into textures and I'm going to add another texture. And this time it's going to be of Annoy. Ooh, what's that doing? You know what? I don't like this at all. We're going to render in cycles. Because I'm just not... I'm not liking what it's doing. So I'm just going to add... I didn't want this tutorial to be about rendering anyway, so I'm just going to add a glossy shader. To render view. I'm going to add a glossy shader. And I'm just going to add some Annoy displacement. Give that quite a big... I'm going to get that old metal look. I'm going to get rid of that material. Can't get the material right today, I don't know why. Grey. And this, children, is why we should always plan our materials. Maybe what I'm missing is a light source. I'm just going to tab out, and I'm going to add a plane. Not a cube, but a plane. Now I'm going to rotate it, grab it, scale it up. And I'm just going to make this new material. And I'm going to make this an emission. View rendered. That's better. I'm going to give this a reddish tint. So I'm just going to press 0 on my keyboard. And I'm just going to go into the properties for this and decheck camera on ray visibility. And I'm just going to split the view here. Split down. And I'm going to go into my node editor. Let's do some nodes. Let's do some nodes for a change. I'm going to add an image texture. Yuck. I'm going to add input texture coordinate. Oh wait, what did I do? Okay, and I'm going to open up desktop, textures, metals, coarse. See what we have here. I think that one will do well. And I'm just going to tab in UV Smart Project. And I'm going to tick over into the image editor. Come here, and I think this will do nicely. Just go into textured view to see how that texture is mapping on. And I like that. I like that better than what we were getting. I just view rendered. And move this up out of the way. I like that. And I'm just going to add a wood texture to the hammer here by just going new. I'm just going to make a brown, add a displacement. I'm going to add a Musgrave. Oi. Runaway camera. And I'm actually just going to move this over to a second layer. Again, just to do the texturing on it. I'm going to make the quite rough there. And move the scale down. No, up. Wait, I like that. I want plenty of detail. That'll do. And then I'm just going to go into top view. And I'm going to tab into edit mode. And I'm going to do. And I'm just going to do alt click. And then border select. Border selection there. And what I'm doing here is I'm just selecting the things I don't want to be the same material. And I'm just going to add material, click assign, and then go and find the metal texture and make a smart projection. And move that back over to 1, press 1, and view rendered. Okay, so I'm going to call that finished for now. It's not looking brilliant, and obviously if you were doing this for something that you wanted to look a bit more professional, you'd go and you'd kind of plan out the hammer a bit more. That was just a little kind of detailing thing. And you'd maybe do some other things, but I think for kind of 40 minutes work or so, that's a good looking anvil. Please tell me what you think. If there's anything you'd like to know how to make, or anything you would like to know about Blender in general, feel free to ask. Goodbye.